and welcome to the Sheep and Cheerful podcast, episode 18. My name is Nicky. I am your hostess. I'm not going to say it. Oh, I'm going to say it. Hostess with the mostess for this podcast, which is me chattering on about living as creative and crafty a life as possible and in as cheerful a way as possible, which, let's face it, can be a challenge, including listening to the usual pitter-patter of dogs' paws around the floor in my craft room. As ever, I am joined by Henry, the lovable hang dog who has that spaniel look down to a T. And then we have, over that way, we have Honey joining us as well today. They've both now laid down, so hopefully we might get a bit of time. I've got neighbours both sides of the house who are out in their gardens. We've got building work going on that side, and we've got goodness knows what garden work going on that side. So it's going to be a challenge today, but we will plough onwards. I've already been out this morning, which I will tell you about in a moment, so it's quite impressive really. Anyway, yes, the podcast, it's about knitting and sewing and crafting and oftentimes weaving and sometimes spinning. Oh, that reminds me, I need to talk about that. And obviously in my most professional manner, in a desk that is covered in stuff, there is no pencil, there is no pen. What is the matter with me? Is there one in my project bag? Sometimes I'm really efficient. No. I think there might be in this. So the thing is, it's an IKEA pencil. Can I just say, I did not take this. I did not remove this from IKEA. This must have been one of my errant members of my family. But it's perfect size for notions pouches. Right, let me write down here while I remember that spinning to the fleece, because I will forget basically, and I'm not going to apologise for that because there's so much stuff in my brain that we can be forgiven for letting things slide to the back, can't we? It's a bit like old whips, isn't it? You're really focused on something for a while and then it kind of gets put to the back of the cupboard in your brain and you forget it's there. And then 2 years later, you're just having a bit of a sort out, bit of mental housekeeping of your stash. And lo and behold, you remember something. You find a half knit sweater in the back of your cupboard. And you know, I'm sure all the great psychologists of the 21st century will be jumping onto that analogy because it's clearly so on point. Anyway, I think I've said everything. I've said I'm Nicky, haven't I? Oh, and if you want to find me on Instagram, I am Clara Peggotty. I'm not really anywhere else. I have suspended my Facebook account, so I'm not on Facebook anymore. I'm on Instagram and I'm on Ravelry. Of course, I'm on Ravelry as Clara Peggotty as well. I go on when I can. Well, I go on as much as I can to our podcast group that we have also on Ravelry, which is Sheep and Cheerful Podcast. I'll talk about that a bit more later. And you can also obviously leave comments down there. If you're not on Ravelry, then I will put my email address in the show notes and you can email me with any things you want to be involved in with the group, because I know there are some problems with Ravelry for some users. So hopefully, if you need to, you can join in or you can contact me. That said, I am well aware that I have not yet responded to the last podcast's comments on YouTube. And I know there was a particular question that I needed to look up and answer. So I will be doing that in the next couple of days. I do apologise for that. It's been a fairly hectic couple of weeks. Obviously, I didn't podcast last week for various reasons, which I will share with you. So hopefully you'll forgive me for that. Right. enough of all that. I'm going to jump straight into some knitting and crafting content, and then we'll have news and updates and things towards the end. I think we'll do it that way this time, because those of you who tune in for specific crafting input, then obviously you don't want to wait through all my chatter and gassing. It's bad enough. What are we at? Not too long actually so far, but we'll get on with the knitting. So I have some finished objects, which is really exciting. I've just remembered I didn't say where I was from, did I? South coast of England. There you go. Ba-boom, bash. Really windy, really wet yesterday. Today it's really sunny, but also really windy, which is, I believe, Storm Francis. Right, yeah, did that bit. Okay. Right, finished objects. What have I got for you? I've got a few, which is quite exciting. First of all, and I have posted these on Instagram, so you may well have seen them, I have finished my Soul Sisters socks, which were the socks, the second pair of socks that I had kind of earmarked for our I Finished It Mum make along, which is finishing at the end of this month. So Monday's the last day of August, isn't it? Bank holiday Monday in the UK. So the I've Finished It Mum make along thread will be locked on probably Tuesday morning. Let's be realistic. So get your entries in there. I have obviously not entered mine officially, because that would be a bit weird, but I have finished the Cocoon Socks, which I shared a few weeks ago. I have now finished the, what have I finished? The Soul Sisters socks. So I have a pair just to prove this to you. But what I've done on here, I'll talk a bit about this a bit more, but I've twisted these around so that you can see the pattern. So this pattern, this gorgeous pattern, runs down the front of the sock. There you go, look at that, all the way down to the foot. So if I now turn that around to how it would be, so you can see half of it on this side and obviously half on that side. Really pretty. The yarn is Unicorn Tweed sock yarn, Unicorn Rainbow, by LottieKnits. That's Charlotte Walford, who is up in Chester, I think. It's beautiful, the tweed. Look at all those rainbow neps on there. Can you see those? As well as the kind of, obviously my gauge lends itself to this kind of striping. Really subtle, but really pretty. The contrast heel toe cuffs I've used is Life in the Long Grass. It's just the end of a plain tonal scrap I had, but I think it works really well. I followed, these are toe up socks, and I should say they are designed by my lovely friend Jooles and Amy, the friends Jooles and Amy. Jooles, who is of course So Sweet Violet, and Amy, who is Taylor S Studio. They joined together, collaborated in this design, and they are toe up socks. So this is the toe. I don't have the pattern with me. I think it's what Jooles calls the beanie toe. So it's a bit like an umbrella toe. So you come out, you're doing, rather than just increasing as you start from either side, you're actually increasing all the way round as you come down that toe. Now, I really like this. The only thing is, it is longer. It is a deeper toe than my normal toes. So I think I've ended up making these socks a little bit too big for me. Just a little bit, tiny bit on the long side. I know once I wash them, they'll probably shrink a bit anyway. And also they don't fit my sock blocker. And my feet aren't that big. But never mind, it's fine. The heel, I did my own heel. I always, these days, do a fish lips kiss heel. So I didn't do the heel from the pattern, but there is details. It's a very detailed pattern with lots of options for you. And then it was a 2x2 rib. I had a bit of an issue with my cast off for some reason. I never used to have a problem with casting off toe up socks, but then I don't know what it is. Suddenly lots of people were talking about it, and about them being stretchy enough and not being stretchy enough, and whether to do Judy's stretchy bind off, or whether to do the knit two together and, you know, put them onto the or that bind off. And then I suddenly got all in a pickle, because my bind offs don't tend to be tight anyway. I'm fairly generous with my just a normal, you know, knit one, pass one over bind off. So these are a little bit, I ended up having to undo them, and they're a little bit saggy. Can you see that? They'll be fine once I wash them. I mean, they fit. They don't drop, the socks. They don't sort of slide down my leg. But yeah, I need to work that out really, because I quite enjoy doing toe-up socks. But there you are. There are my Soul Sisters socks. Absolutely beautiful. So that's another pair. That is my I've finished it, Mum. 2 pairs I have got. And the nice thing is now, this is my knitting journal and my Soul Sisters socks card. Which, if you remember, I decorate the front. I put a little snip of the yarn in there, and then I write on the back of the card all the details of the pattern. That stays in the project bag, and then once I've finished, I can put the finishing date on, as I have here with other notes. Yep, I've even put the number of rounds I've done for the foot. And then that just tucks into my knitting journal. So, and then I can close it up. So that is really good. I have filed that away, as I have as well my, oh no, there we are. Where's that in knit? Oh, I put that in the wrong. I've obviously filed away, you remember that I finished my Stillness Shawl, my mystery knit along. So again, that's been, I've actually put lots of details on when I did all the mystery clues there. And then I've got my 3 different bits of yarn tagged on the bottom. So yeah, I'm getting through them. Not only that, so, hang on, now I've got in a box, sit there, there we go. So, Soul Sisters socks. I then have, what do I have? I have a half object, and then we'll go into another finished object. I also, not long ago, finished sock number 1 of my stripy DownSheepyLane vanilla socks. So, ta-da! Do you want them on a sock blocker? I suppose it's a bit easier to kind of handle them when they're on a sock blocker. Oh, my rabbit ones are here. These are just some plastic ones I think I got from, I don't know where. Years ago I've had these. So, look at those. Aren't they the most glorious socks? I love these. So this is yarn from DownSheepyLane, which is my friend Debbie. Debbie and I have been friends for quite some time. We've shared rooms together. We've shared a double bed at the Socks on the Beach retreat in Eastbourne at the Hydro Hotel. We were room buddies, and we were room buddies at Edinburgh 2019. Do you remember those days when we used to be able to go to yarn festivals? Anyway, this is one of Debbie's wonderful self-striping colourways. Now, I want to say that this is Pennywise from, no, Pennywise is Stephen King, isn't it? I'm sure this was a Peaky Blinders colourway. But, stupidly, and also because it was a, no, it didn't. I thought I'd got the card there. That's Debbie's, that's her logo, newly designed actually. But I don't have the colourway. But it was a sock set. So it was just a small ball of self-striping. And I don't think the label, I don't know how I lost the label anyway, basically. But she also sent the contrasting mini, which is her coal colourway, which I used for the heel and the toe. So it's just a standard vanilla sock, 2x2 rib, fish lips kiss heel, and standard wedge toe there. But it's absolutely lovely. I love those colours, and it's really autumnal. You'll also remember that this was one of my experiments I started back in, oh goodness, was it March, April time, when I was trying different ways of knitting socks, and I have been using some higher bamboo mini circulars. Can you see those? I think it is focusing because there's a little square on my screen. Look at that. Let's go that way. I haven't got a clue. Anyway, these tiny little toothpick minis there in front of the door, that's better. So this is 9-inch circulars, 2.25 millimeters. And although I was slower and I felt I couldn't just knit and not look at what I was doing with these, but that might be practice. I did persevere and I did the whole sock, and I'm going to do the second sock with these. So I think I'm always going to have a pair of these on the go. I did like the fact that you just could go round and round and round, and you didn't have to faff around like with Magic Loop or DPNs. So that was a successful experiment, I think. So I am going to be casting on the second sock because I definitely want those in my sock drawer by the end of the year. What I tend to do is I keep all my socks through the year that I knit. I think it started with the whole Vine box of socks deal, which I never actually entered or did, but I got the idea from other people that I would actually put all my FO socks to one side, and then in December or in January I would pull out all my new ones, and it was lovely because then I had a nice selection of, well, it might only be 2 new pairs or it might be 5 or 6 new pairs, and it was really nice. So that's what I tend to do now. So the Soul Sister socks, my Cocoon socks are ready, and my other socks from this year are safely tucked away in a little box, and I will be pulling those out at the end of the year. So actually it lends itself to a nice review, doesn't it? A sock review of the year. So yeah, DownSheepyLane self-striping sock yarn. So that's a ho ho ho. Then literally hot off the needles, we have another FO, another pair of finished socks. And these, once again, are not on sock blockers because I am super inefficient like that. I really wanted to get my podcast going today, so I'm gonna talk amongst yourselves while I stick these on. And here we go. Woohoo! On the rabbits as well. Look at those. These are, can I see you through there? These are a pair of Rose City rollers, and they are knits in the KnitPicks Felici self-striping sock yarn. And this is the dark side colourway. I'll hold those up because they are so cool. I talked about these, I think, at length in my last podcast. I cast these on my little weekend away down in the New Forest, and I just got really cracking with them, really got on with them. I got the first one done, and I think I'd cast on the second one on the last podcast. And I did talk to you about the fact that although from a distance these are fantastic, the actual yarn dyeing is a little bit grubby. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see, particularly the yellow and the green? In fact, if I show you this side, there, you can see there's some black showing through these colours there, there, there. So, I mean, it's a little bit disappointing, especially when you're used to the standard of sort of indie dyers. But obviously, this is commercially produced yarn, and they look fantastic. They're going to be on your feet. So, yeah, super pleased with that. Obviously, the pattern for Rose City Rollers is by Mara Catherine Bryner. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I think most people have seen it or have knit them or know of them. They are a roll top, so just a knitted roll top sort of cuff. It's not even a cuff. You've got heel flap and gusset, and then a standard wedge toe. Now with these, because they are going to be a gift for someone, and I'm not entirely sure of that person's foot size, what I decided to do, I've made my best guess, but I've actually not grafted, there we go, I've not grafted the toes. I've not kitchenered the toes, so we've got little toes. Look like fish. Anyway, I will leave those, and when these are given to the person in question, they can try them on, and if they fit, I will graft the toes there and then. If they need to be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, I can deal with that then as well. So that is my plan. But I love the colours. And you know the best part? These I've done to about a standard size 6, so European 40, I think that is, UK size 6. And I got the pair out of a 50-gram ball, which is brilliant. It's brilliant. So obviously if you want to knit full length pairs, you'd need to go into the second ball. But I had 2 balls and I haven't gone into that second ball. So these were knit from 50 grams and it's a fairly average size, I think. So really, I haven't sewn the ends in because they were literally just finished, but really loving those. I have also this was my record card that was in the project bag, and then I'll hold it back here because it says who they're for, and I don't think they watch the podcast, but I filled in all the details. I started these on the 31st of July and I finished them on the 26th of August. Started at sandy boards, matched the stripes. Yeah, I mean I managed to match the stripes pretty darn well. Pretty pleased with those, feel it that way. So all these finished objects go me, so that is now going to go and join in my knitting journal. Oh, I need to clip. I've got a little bit of yarn left, so I'm going to clip that to there. Boom. Excusez-moi for one moment. Okay, so they're my finished objects and nearly finished objects. My half object that was, wasn't it? I should also say that if you remember, I don't know if I actually did I do a card for it, because I did it when I was doing my journal. And my knitting journal is the other one before I started these is across. Right, I made a shawl back at the beginning of lockdown for a friend of mine for her birthday present, and it was made using West Green Loft yarns. Just a second, I'm going to go and get the book, because if I am right, which is a little bit of a, oh, look at that, look at that, we're here. I'm not going to cut that out. This was, before I started the journal cards, I made myself a project book out of a traveller's notebook, and that was it, the Auspice shawl. So that was it, and I made it with a view to a gift for a friend of mine whose birthday was in August, and I gave it to her this week. So, and I think she watches the podcast, so if you're watching, Sonia, hey. Yeah, so this was West Green Loft yarns, and it was Vicky's colourway called Anne with an E. And it was this beautiful sort of cream, but with tans and yellows, and a really quite autumnal as well. In fact, that was kind of, the colours I've used on the page is very representative of the colours of the shawl. And you can just about see that picture there. But I realised when I got it out again, I finished it 4th of May, it was a little bit smaller than I really wanted it to be, so I reblocked it and I got it to a much better size, So I was really pleased about that. I think I'd been a little bit dainty with my blocking, and because it has these, I don't know if you can see, it has these rows of eyelets sweeping around the shawl, so it could do some pretty hefty blocking. This is a design by Lisa Much, and it's called the Auspice shawl. There you go, like that. And it's a single skein pattern, and it was really great. So yes, I reblocked that, gave that to Sonia this week, and she was really pleased with it. So that was really good as well. Just love that. Okay, projects on the go, works in progress. Projects on the go. Where does that come from? Oh, hang on, just adjust my top a bit. We have, do you remember I had a half object not long ago? It's my lovely Hohi bag. I had the first of the Jasmine sock that I had done as a test knit for Debbie, who... Debbie, what is your Instagram name? I've blanked. It's Debbie Ford, but what is your Instagram? Oh, for goodness sake. Debs. Forgive me. Again, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to check. It's something really obvious. I know this because I see a lot of her posts. DaisyStitches. Of course it is. DaisyStitches. Debs, I'm so sorry to have forgotten your Instagram handle. So she designed this, and this was part of a collection of 3 patterns that she released. She has very kindly offered to put up a prize for the podcast of a collection of these patterns. So I think next week I will be looking to do a giveaway for that. But in the meantime, I can't think why this got put to one side. I know what it was. When I got back from Sandy Boys, I started on the second sock and I just kept going wrong. Every time I picked it up, I went wrong and ended up having to rip back 1 or 2 rows. So I put it down for a while. And it was totally my fault. User error. But since then, look at where I'm at. And you can see on my little rubber ducky, there, my stitch marker, that's where I was, my progress keeper. And I am bombing down the foot. So I've done the heel flap and gusset. I've finished my decreases from the gusset, and I've got about, oh goodness, I think I've got about 4 more pattern repeats to do, and this will be finished. So I'm hoping next week, end of August, it's end of August this week really, isn't it? We'll kind of roll it over because it isn't September till Tuesday, and I'll record this on the Wednesday probably. So yeah, we'll get this wrapped up by the end of the summer holidays. Let's do that. But it's a lovely sock. I have talked about this. It's such a pretty pattern. You can see it better there. And this colourway is by Helen from Giddy Yarns, another friend of mine. And this is her Secret Garden colourway. And it is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love these. Absolutely. Everything's absolutely. I absolutely love these. I'm going to have a decent amount of yarn left over as well. Because I only use about 50-55 grams for full length socks for myself. So I usually have about half a skein left over. So that's Helen's logo. And these are her standard sock merino nylon. Helen's looking at getting some new bases in actually, and I'm hoping if she's going ahead with what I chatted to her about, that I'm going to test one of the bases, which I'm quite excited about. But obviously we'll talk about that as and when and if indeed the time comes. Okay, the other thing I'm knitting on is my chicken sweater, which is the Jupiter Crop by Caitlin Hunter. I'm not going to share that with you this week. So there. Hang on. Just adjust myself here. That's it. I seem to be getting closer to the camera and more to the left. No, I thought I'd rolled over one of the dogs then, but I haven't. That's good. The chicken sweater is coming on leaps and bounds. I am now on the ribbing, the bottom part of the ribbing. So really excited to get going with that. It's short sleeves, so again, I have some targets in mind, the reason for which I will share with you after we talked about the crafting. But I am on the ribbing. There is 3 inches of ribbing and it is 1 by 1 rib. So, you know, we'll get there. I think I've done about 1 inch. So I'm going to be working on that this week and hoping to get the body, at least the body, cast off. I've tried it on, really pleased with how it's looking, really pleased with the fit. So fingers crossed there will be progress to show you next time. But I have picked up a new old whip. It was one of those that was at the back of my brain. Oh, yeah, toss. Do you notice the hair, by the way? It's less yellow. I had it done yesterday, but I'll talk about that later. Did you hear that? I'm so sorry. That's my dad's text alert on my phone. I'll get back to him a little bit later. So, yes, project bag. I have got, this is an old project. This is a Danico Studio project bag. So it's like an old thing from the Natural History Museum. This is really nice. I bought this a couple of years ago. No, 3 or 4 years ago from Kettle Yarns. I don't know if she still sells them, but I love this. Very into natural history. And this is a project. Tell me I left. Oh no, it's here. I thought I'd left the pattern in the kitchen. I picked this up. This has been, I don't know when I cast this on because this was way back before I kept any kind of journal. And I started knitting, I think it was a year, 18 months ago. And this is the Courage Shawl. It's black and white picture, sorry about that. By Shannon Cook. He's a very popular designer. She's a Canadian designer. So this is knit in, let me get the right thing. Yeah, it's sort of a worsted weight yarn shawl. I started knitting this. I do like Shannon's designs. I've knit a couple of them in the past. I know some of her designs are really popular, some of her sweaters in particular. Sorry, Henry's scuffling about over there. And I had started this shawl and then I put it down, and it was one of those that I'd just kind of fallen out of love with. And several times I picked it up and thought, I'm going to frog that shawl. And I've looked at it and thought, actually, it's really nice. I don't want to frog it. I think sometimes we want to frog it because there's no good reason. We've just come to a standstill with it and got no motivation. But this is one of the few that I've kept on the needles and just tucked it away. And I decided to pull it out, partly because I want to finish it, partly because the yarn is just delicious, and partly because I think I know I'm going to use it as a Christmas present for someone who I think will love it. So, I mean, I love it, but I do like my gift knitting. So I will show you how far I got. I put a couple of rows into it yesterday as well. So there. As usual, you can't actually see the real size of it because it's a lot of knitting on a smallish needle, but it's like that. So that's the wingspan at the moment. But if I come close and show you, you can see this is all about texture. So I'm just now on, I'll come back to the first colour, which is this oatmeal. It's coming out really pretty on the camera. So, yeah, there you go. Butter, get my hands right. Really, really lovely. And the yarn I'm using for this is CaMaRose. So it's a combination of Lama, virgin wool and Donegal. So again, the tweed, love the tweed. So that is the label. and it's actually their Lama Tweed base. See that? This is one of the colours. I've got a, let me find you the others. Oh, is that one attached? I don't know which one is attached. Oh, there we go. So those are the 3 colours I'm using. Sorry, 4 colours. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful yarn. I'm not sure what that, so if I tell you what the colours are, okay, that's why this is caked, it's different. This is actually Shelter. This is a skein of Shelter that I had, a Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Fossil colourway. There you go, which is like just a parchmenty pale oatmeal colour, I suppose. And that's in Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, Fossil. And then the CaMaRose, we have this colour, which is Lilac. I'm guessing it's lilac. That one. We have this one, which is Mint 6462. So pretty. I think this is my favourite. And then this one, which is Turkish Blau 6429. There. So those 3 plus the Shelter. So, and this, oh, it's so soft. It's got such a lovely handle. Hand, not a handle. It's a lovely hand to it. So CaMaRose. Now I know it's from Peru. I know that Loop in London sell this. This is where I got this from. I'm sure you can get it elsewhere, but I did buy this a couple of years ago. So anyway, so that is my old whip that I'm pulling out now, and I'm going to start putting some time into it, and you can see the different, look at that bit of stitch work there, and then this one here. These, and again, it's slip stitches she's using. And there's all sorts of different names for these. So you've got Russian stripes, railroad, slip stitches, and Russian stripes. So that's the thing. I don't know if they're a thing or they're just things that Shannon has named them. But it's so squishy and soft, so pretty. So that has been dusted off, pulled down off the shelf, and I'll be putting some work into that. It's just as well, I want to finish some things up because it's definitely, oh, Henry is there now, so I can't push myself further back. It's definitely getting to blanket weather. Definitely looking to be picking up my scrappy blankets. So I want to get some garments finished and some other things done, so that I can, just of an evening, I can sit down and pick up my scrappy blanket to work on, because I'm really excited about getting those going again. I seem to have amassed a whole load of mini skeins and mini balls from swaps I've done. So I've got loads that I can be using. Plus there's Advent coming up, isn't there? I'm doing more swaps, and I bought 2 Advent from Indie Dyers because I was bad. But with the economy as the way it is, we need to be supporting the economy, don't we? So circular flow of income. There's my economics degree, which brings us into a nice segue into what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of years. But first, I'm going to have a drink. Just a moment. Right, I'm going to stick this right in the middle, because partly because that segue was just so darn good. I mean, I can't not use it. But also, I've still got to talk about Ravelry Group and the makealongs. So we'll pop that the other side of this, and also some sewing that I've been doing. So on to, this middle segment, what I've been up to. Now, do you remember back in February, March, April, Lent, I did my series of vlogs called My Sustainable-ish Lent. And I was looking at ways of living a more eco-friendly life, really, being sustainable. I said I would buy nothing new for 40 days, which I pretty much didn't. I did have, I had a few wild cards that I was allowed to use, which I used for presents for people. But other than that, I did pretty well. So I do have this ongoing interest in sustainability and sort of eco-friendliness. Going back even further, 15 years ago, I did an undergraduate degree at university. I was a mature student at the time, and I got my bachelor's degree in economics, which I absolutely loved doing. Then I took time out to homeschool the children and raise the family, basically, generally speaking. So I was a stay-at-home homeschooling mum. Then, they haven't quite left home yet. Every time I thought they were like, that was it, my job here was done with regards to education, one of them would land up back again wanting to do more studies, so I would be there to support them, which is absolutely fine, of course it is. But it meant that I still had a lot going on. So come this year, Jonah is in his final year at uni. Hannah is going into her second year, but also doing, as I've said before, politics, philosophy and economics at my old university with some of my old tutors. Can't believe that. Got me kind of going again, and just with everything that's been going on and reviewing life, I decided now was the time to go back to study. So I decided to apply for a master's degree, or to apply to study for a master's degree at my old alumni at Sussex University. And I applied to do my master's in sustainable development. Now this was really exciting to me. I found this master's. I could have done a straightforward master's, applied for a master's in economics, but it wasn't so much straight economics I was after. It was the whole sustainable development thing, which really, really was my thing that I was interested in studying. And I found this master's. It's an MSc, and it's based on, I don't know if you remember when Hannah and I went to the United Nations headquarters last December when we were in New York. Oh, how long ago was that? I picked up lots of literature about the UN Global Sustainable Development Goals, of which there are 17. And the master's degree that I'm studying is based on these sustainable development goals. So I was so excited. I applied. As with me and everything, I applied last minute. I wanted to start it in September. Hence I didn't podcast last week because all this was going on. And I applied and I was accepted onto the course last week. And it starts next week. And I am so excited to be starting. Partly to be going back to academic study again. Partly because of what I'm going to be studying. Partly because I'm getting back in touch with some of my old, sort of my personal tutor from Sussex, 15 years ago. We kind of loosely kept in touch. She's now professor there, and she is thrilled that I'm going to be doing this. It's a part-time course. It's over 2 years. It's going to be an online course, as you can imagine, but I still get access to the university, the library, and all the gubbins there. So once things settle down with COVID and they get everything set up for there, I'll be able to go over and use the library. Sorry, I just had a massive, great big yawn. That's how excited I am about this course. Yes, I'll be able to go over there. I will be able to do my research. I will be able to do my, put to use my economics side of studying, plus my development studies side of studying, because part of my degree was development studies. So we're going back to, these goals, they look at, the different modules look at things from making sure everyone has access to education, to clean water, to gender equality, through to consumption and production, through to infrastructure investment, climate change, the whole gamut. If anybody is interested, just Google UN Global Sustainable Development Goals and you will get just a list of the 17. Funnily enough, this is a children's book, but it is fantastic. And actually, I'll just read you the introduction. It's only like, you know, a children's thing here. This is the UN book. Obviously, the degree, the masters will have slightly different things added in as well, but it's basically based around these things. On January the 1st, 2016, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development officially came into force. With these new goals that universally apply to all, countries are mobilising efforts to end all forms of poverty, fight inequalities and tackle climate change, whilst ensuring that no one is left behind. The new goals call for action by all countries, poor, rich and middle income, to promote prosperity whilst protecting the planet. They recognise that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and address a range of social needs, including education, health, social protection and job opportunities, whilst tackling climate change and environmental protection. Wow. I hope you're thinking, wow, because I am thinking, wow. So it is super, super exciting. I'm going to be studying. Now it is, as I say, it's a part-time course over 2 years. I'm certainly envisaging that I will have some time to continue with my crafting, possibly not as much as I can do at the moment. That said, you know, I believe if I organise my time properly, then there is no reason why I can't get a few more whips and things done and some new cast-ons and so on. It will take me a while just really to get the balance right, so do bear with me. It may mean occasionally that I am unable to podcast. I don't know what my timetable is going to be for sure. At the moment I'm still hoping to be able to record on a Wednesday and put the podcast up on a Thursday. It may be that they'll be a little bit shorter. It may be that I don't do any fancy schmancy editing. Yeah, what fancy schmancy editing you're asking us? Because I don't do that anyway. But I am hoping to, you know, to keep this going because I love the chat. I love the kind of the backwards and forwards we have and sharing my makes with you and the comments and the make-alongs and all of that. So fingers crossed we can keep that going to some kind of level. In the meantime, I have my student diary. I have my academic accounts now set up, my email accounts. I have my first webinar, Go Me, this afternoon. And the actual course, the first module starts next Tuesday, 1st of September. I would really like to be able to share some of the bits and pieces that I do. So it may well be that I alternate the book review with some things that I'm learning on my course. So, you know, anyone who's interested, the first module, have I got the first module here? I don't think I have, is it here? That I will be starting is critical issues in sustainability. I can't talk. Critical issues in sustainability, agriculture, environment and health. I believe that's the first module, so watch this space. The other bit of news, totally unrelated to that, is I have this morning as well, because I'm getting on it, gone back to Weight Watchers. Do you... Oh, sorry, I made the table wobble then, which means you're probably wobbling. Sorry about that. Henry's excited. He's now probably going to jump up. He's got his head on my lap. Haven't you, lad? What was I saying? Weight Watchers. Yes, I have gone back. They have started back with meetings. They are slightly different. They're called express meetings, and you literally go, you have your weigh in and a chat with your sort of team leader or your coach, as we call them now, and then you leave. There's no sort of social get together, there's no talk or anything like that, but you still get to go and have that input, and you can chat with a few other folks while you're in the queue, obviously suitably masked up. So I went back today, I weighed in. It was a bit of a choker because you're not allowed to take your shoes off now, and I had worn clunky heavy shoes. So as soon as I got home, I weighed my shoes, so I've taken that off my weight. Although Natalie, my leader, did say that if I, next week, if I wear flip-flops, then I'm going to have lost even more this week. So where I am at, just briefly with that, I did bring my bits and pieces in, but goodness only knows what I have done with them now. Here they are. So I'm not going to go into great details, but at the end of, before lockdown, the last meeting was beginning of March that I went to. And I had actually lost enough to get my third, what they call Silver 7, which is a £7 loss. So if you remember, if any of you watched my vlogs, if not, you can either zoom over this bit. I had got my 2 other chips. Hannah calls them my food soba chips. Hang on. They're in my purse, so it's not the easiest things to show. So I got the blue one, which is this one. This was my first £7 lost. And then when I lost £14, I got, a purple one. And then just before we broke up for lockdown, I was due to get another one. So when I went back today, as is the rule, even though I had put on some weight over the last 3 months, not as much as I had worried about, not really worried to be honest, not a huge amount, I still got my next Silver 7, which I think she said was 5% of my body weight. This one represented that I'd lost 5% of my body weight. I have not opened this, and I'm not going to open this until I lose. It was £4. I put on £4 since March, which, whatever. But I feel this is my first target. So once I lose those £4, so probably in about, I don't know, 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, I will open this and award myself this again properly. So I know talking about weight loss is probably very politically incorrect in the world at large, but to be honest, it's my journey, isn't it? It's my choice. I want to continue to lose some weight, mostly for health reasons, because I know I will feel better and be less susceptible to some of the problems that I have in life if I lose a bit of weight. Plus, it means that if I can knit smaller sweaters in fingering weight yarn, then who wouldn't want to do that? Let's face it. So, yep, that's it. I have started back. So, you never know. We might be bringing back the happy dance. Right. Okay. Let's move on back to some knitting and crafting. I'm going to talk briefly about the make-alongs we've got in the Ravelry group next. So we have a wonderful, wonderful Ravelry group. If you search for us under Sheep and Cheerful podcast in the group section of Ravelry, you'll find us. There's an introductory thread. Please do drop a line in there just to say hello. You don't have to tell us your life story, or you can tell us your life story, but it is nice to know a little bit about the friends that we're going to be making in the group and who we're going to be chatting with. Everybody's all around the world, all sorts of different people, and it's lovely. As you know, I'm a Christian. We have a lot of Christians in the group, but it is by no means exclusive to that. So don't feel that you have to have any particular religious persuasion or otherwise to join the group. We are welcoming and friendly, and it's wonderful, basically. So we have 2 make-alongs going along at the moment. We have the Scrappy blanket adventures, where people are still working on their scrappy blankets. Jump in that anytime. It's going to be open right through, to the end of the year at least, but I suspect it will be open beyond that. I think I may well in September be drawing some prizes from the chatter thread, because it's such a lovely thread, and I have just a couple of prizes still there that I can hand out. So I may well be drawing from prizes there. if you've got a Scrappy blanket on the go, then, and it's less than 50%, if you're new to the group, if your blanket is less than 50% done, then you can join in. Obviously, a new cast on, join in. If you've already got one on, but you want to start another one, join in. It's always great to see all the different patterns and the different yarn combinations. And along with that, Amanda is doing a great job organising an Advent mini skein swap in the group. There's a separate thread that she's running. You just need to go and read what's in that thread, sign up for it, and she is pairing people up to do an Advent swap, which will be really good fun. So thanks, Amanda, for doing that. But jump on into that. I'm not sure when the closing date is for her. I think it might be the end of September, but check out the threads in there. If you want to join in the Advent mini skein swap, but you are unable to use Ravelry, then drop me an email at nicky@clarapeggottyweaving.co.uk. I will put that down in the notes, and I will pass your details on to Amanda if you want to join in the swap. So don't feel prohibited from joining that if you would like to, but you are unable to use Ravelry for whatever reason, whether it be that you just can't use the software, you don't like computers, or because you have a problem at the moment with the new Ravelry format, then do just email me or DM me on Instagram, and I will pass your details on to Amanda happily, and she can then contact you with the arrangements. So that's that. The other make-along we've got going on, which is now coming to an end, as I mentioned earlier, is the I Finished Mum make-along. I'm going to miss doing that. And as always, we have the infamous I've Finished Mum bell. Going to miss that as well. So the idea for the I Finished It Mum make-along was digging out, as I said, all those dusty, long forgotten whips and projects. It can be, we've had cross stitch, we've had quilting, we've had knitting and crochet. We even had a bit of a hand woven stool, the seagrass stool that's in there. It's brilliant. Any project that you've been meaning to get done that has been just sitting around, then it's not too late. If you think you can finish it off by the end of August, which is next Monday, then jump on in. We've had a great chatter thread, lots of laughs, and we've got a great finished objects thread going on, of which I have now. At the weekend I took the names down from that, so if you put something in since the weekend, don't panic. I will be giving you the bell next week. So let's go through who have we got, who gets the I've Finished Mum bell for the penultimate time of this make along. We have got Petra. She finished her dad's socks, and I have to say, for some reason, they ended up in the fridge. I love that. It makes me look slightly more sane. Gillian. Gillian's been on fire through this. Gillian, over in, sorry, I'm wobbling the table again, in Cyprus, you finished some Derby County socks for your son. Oh, hello. You don't like the bell, do you? Yeah. Sorry, we're going to get a bit of honey. You are dog bombing, aren't you? You're dog bombing the podcast. No, you're hurting, darling. Get down. Look, this is a little bell. It's not going to hurt you. Holly. Well done, Holly. You finished. Oh, that was a bit gentle, was it? Give you a better bell. There you go. You finished a hat for a friend. And here comes Honey again. Honey, look. It's a bell. It's not going to hurt you. Ow, but that is going to hurt me. Get down. So I'll put you outside. No, no. Stop. That's my strict voice. Celeste, you have been on fire too. You have finished the flax sweater by Tin Can Knits. You have finished a test knit, which is so secret you couldn't post a picture. And you've also finished a pair of socks. What is going on with you, girl? There you go. 3 bells for Celeste. Teresa, you have also finished a pair of socks and a cracking looking cotton cardigan. Well done, you. Really. I can't ring the bell if you're on my lap. Excuse me just a second. Oh, Lord, you're now going to run a... Oh, right. There. You've got... Okay, she's going to now roll over again. As you know, onto her back. There she goes. Right, ow, I've got earrings in, you can't do that. I know, you're beautiful, but I have to ring the bell. I have to ring the bell for everybody because they've done lots of hard work and they deserve the bell. Mwah! So, I'm going to do this. Where's the bonger? So, we have got Sarah who finished a pair of Marie Curie socks. Do you want to bong it? Oh, no, you really don't like that. Sarah, well done. Your Marie Curie socks are for such a great cause. I know there's lots of people knitting those up at the moment. You also finished some other stripy socks. Now you get down. Come on. See, now Henry's going to jump up in a minute. Stripy ribbed socks. Ribbed socks. I doff my cap to you for ribbed socks. Crikey, I struggle just knitting the rib on the cuff. We have Amanda. You have finished another hospice blanket. Well done, Amanda. And a cabled sweater, no less. Well done. Brilliant. Frances knitted the most gorgeous stripy pullover. Frances, well done. You get the I've finished Mum bell. And we have Jeanette. Now, Jeanette gets 2 pairs of socks. I don't know why I have to pull a face when I do that. I was so super duper impressed. Then I read the thread that she used a circular sock machine, which is still counts. It's still fantastic because you've made the socks. But I was slightly, just a little bit less impressed because I was so impressed they were knee length. Does that sound really bad and unfair? No, that's all right, isn't it? You still made them and they're fantastic. But I didn't feel quite so inadequate. Put it that way. Not quite so inadequate. I have knit a pair of knee length socks before for Hannah. She rarely wears them. She likes the shorties actually. But and Liev in Belgium, dear Liev, who emails me, and she's so lovely and I'm so rubbish at replying, but she managed to work out how to put pictures of her beautiful Satsuma orange and cream sort of patchwork blanket in the thread, and the lovely cushion as well that she made for, I want to say Victoria. It wasn't Victoria, was it? I can't remember the name. I should have written it down. I believe it was for her daughter or her daughter-in-law. So well done, Liev. So all those folks have got the penultimate I've finished Mum bell. So get cracking. Get those whips off your needles if you want to be in a chance of a prize. I will be pulling prizes next week from the I've finished Mum thread, from the finished objects thread, because that was our target after all, wasn't it? And I have got the prizes so far. Obviously, if anybody wants to contribute any other prizes, it would be fab. But mostly I have this beautiful project bag, if you remember, from Lynn down in New Zealand. This beautiful, bright flamingo project bag. It's got a little stitch marker there. And she also sent a skein of Die Happy yarn in this lovely sunflower yellow colourway. I'm not going to take it out of the bag because this podcast is getting a bit long again. And my guys are getting a bit impatient there. So that will be a prize coming out, being drawn next week. And we've also got a prize, another prize. So I'll be pulling 2 prizes from Helen at Giddy Yarns, who sent this gorgeous colourway from her Nostalgia collection. I have shown this before, so again, I'm not taking it out of the wrapping. And there's this chocolate orange needle cozy. You can see at the back. I don't know if you can see that, but it's like squares of chocolate. It's amazing. So those will be the 2 prizes that I will be pulling for next week. And I will also be announcing a new knit along or a new make along for the autumn. Yep, for the autumn. Might even have something to do with Christmas. Right, I think, and with regard to make-alongs, I've been having a chat with one of the girls on the thread. Okay, Tour de Fleece is usually, it's all about spinning. We've talked about this before. I attempted to spin with the Tour de Fleece this year, which is usually the first 3 weeks of July. It didn't happen. There was talk of a virtual Tour de Fleece, Tour de France, I beg your pardon, which kind of didn't seem to happen. It was all a bit weird. I've now discovered a couple of weeks ago that they are actually racing the Tour de France. They just delayed it, so it is racing from this weekend actually. So it'll be 3 weeks, for 3 weeks from this weekend. So I don't know whether I'm going to be in a position to do any spinning, but we do have the team Hey Wait For Me going on in the chatter thread. So if you want to have a crack at some spinning, either with a drop spindle or with a spinning wheel or with an e-spinner, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an expert. You just want to have a go. Then stick it up in the Ravelry thread. Or as I say, if you are a spinner and you want to join in but you are unable to use Ravelry, then contact me via email and I will add your name into the thread and your pictures. And we will keep going and see if we can get some more done. It's a small thread. There's not that many of us spinning. And as I say, I will try, but even if I don't get any spinning done, I'll be one of those supporters at the side of the road, running along with the big signs or with the big foam hands. I will be fully clothed though. I'm not going to be one of those who run alongside the Tour de France naked, because I think that's a little bit unpleasant. Adds to the character of the race though, doesn't it? So yes, that will be starting this weekend. So I will try and refresh the thread and put the details in the team Hey Wait For Me thread. Right, I was going to share some sewing and some dressmaking with you. I probably won't. I think I might leave it until next week, so I've got something. I have an almost finished dress to show you. I did put a little picture of it on Instagram yesterday, but I shall probably endeavour to finish it this weekend, and then I will have a finished object to share with you next week for sure. Finally, I will leave you with a couple of factoids. What do you suppose? Which African mammal, oh dear, I'm coming up to charge now, so I better be quick. Which African mammal has been responsible for the most deaths in Africa over the years? What do you reckon? Could it be lion, elephant, hyena, rhino? None of the above. It was the hippo. The darling, cute and cuddly hippo, which is not at all darling or cute or cuddly, has been responsible for the most human deaths in Africa, according to my research anyway, according to the books and things that I read. So that's a little factoid for you. And finally, let me just share with you a moment about the bank robber, probably one of the most epic fails in the history of mankind. The bank robber who oh, I think I'm a bit wobbly now. I had to plug in my battery because it just died and I'm kind of on the wall. And I let the dogs out and now they're going. Oh dear. Anyway, what was I going to show you? Yes, the bank robber, the most epic fail in the history of bank robberies, who went into a bank in Australia to rob it in the 90s, didn't wear a mask. Instead, he had covered his face with lemon juice, believing that because you can write with invisible ink with lemon juice, that it would make his face invisible to everybody and the surveillance cameras. Not a word of a lie. You couldn't make that up, could you? Needless to say, he was caught. Right, that's the end of it for this week. Wonky donk and all, whatever we are. I hope you've had a good couple of weeks. I hope, depending on where you are in the world, that you're managing to get by. And I'm thinking of you guys down in Melbourne in particular, Karen in particular, who is still on severe lockdown in Melbourne. Anywhere else where you're on lockdown still, I'm sending a huge hug and a prayer for you, for your safekeeping and for your mental welfare. Sending love to everyone anyway. I hope you'll have a great week. It's coming into that time to go sharpen your pencils, isn't it? And get the back to school stuff. Even if you don't go to school, I still feel like September is a great new start. And obviously I'm going back to school. So take care, be more sheep and keep cheerful.